Here's Debrief, the show that gets you caught up on the latest top stories. This week, it's Gaza and Ukraine.
With my talented colleague Aiden I here, all these...
Okay. And a president disobeying the courts could be called.
We begin this hour in Gaza, where at least 52 people have been killed and more than 100 others injured across the enclave on Sunday. Among the casualties are Palestinians who'd gathered at a US-backed aid distribution point in southern Gaza when it came under Israeli attack.
Israeli forces opened fire on hundreds of people trying to get aid.
Palestinians who managed to survive the ordeal returned to Khan Yunis on foot, empty-handed.
This mechanism is not okay. This mechanism is loaded with fear and death.
The families of the 27 killed while seeking aid from the foundation on Tuesday were mourning their loved ones.
This is a bloodbath with bits of food soaked in it. We go there to die.
8 of them were killed by Israeli forces on their way to northwestern Rafah earlier today.
GHF has turned Gaza into a human abattoir. We are seeing hungry, starving, dying women, children and others staggering towards what are effectively cattle pens. And when they get there, there's clear evidence from eyewitnesses in hospitals, doctors and other independent sources that the Israeli army is simply opening fire on them.
US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation announced it would not distribute aid on Wednesday in order to conduct, quote, improvement work.
So they are going to open more death bombs or death traps, as they are called by the Palestinian people here and in Gaza.
The Israeli military says shots were fired for so-called suspicious behavior. Emergency crews on the ground confirm that among the dead and injured are children.
Israel continues its attacks on the enclave.
We don't want our children to die. What's the point of giving us food only to kill us with missiles?
I was lying between my mother and father. Then I woke up to a massive explosion. I fell to the ground. A second strike followed. 2 missiles had hit our building. My father and siblings were martyred. So were my aunts, her children, my uncle, his wife and his sons. Everyone in the building was killed. Only 2 of us survived.
Some days you have hundreds being killed in one single day, and many more were wounded. Literally, what's happening is a genocidal war against the Palestinians, especially in Gaza.
Ukraine has launched a large-scale operation destroying more than 40 bomber aircrafts deep inside Russia.
There was a truck from which those drones were getting out and then trying to attack a military compound.
Ukraine says Operation Spider's Web took a year and a half to plan and was personally overseen by President Volodymyr Zelensky.
34% of Russia's long-range bombers have either been damaged or destroyed. Obviously, there may be claim and counterclaim over the extent of the damage.
The new attempt to find a path to peace after more than 3 years of war between Russia and Ukraine has taken place in Istanbul.
And there is a sense that these talks between Ukraine and Russia are purely performative for the benefit of Washington.
A prisoner exchange, but not much else.
We're insisting on the release of all prisoners and the return of abducted children.
People here, they're waiting to hear what Donald Trump says. He's the deal maker in this process.
Ukraine demands a leaders' meeting because Zelensky believes there won't be a ceasefire unless Putin shows up.
If President Trump supports such an idea, we will be grateful. President Erdogan, President Trump, myself and Putin. We are ready for such a meeting any day.
Vladimir Putin immediately dismissed the idea of direct talks and rejected the call for an unconditional ceasefire.
Speaking to Trump during a more than an hour-long phone call, the Russian leader accused Kyiv of using the attacks in an attempt to disrupt peace talks. Trump says it was a good conversation, but not a conversation that will lead to immediate peace.
Ukraine used underwater explosives to damage part of a bridge that connects illegally annexed Crimea to mainland Russia. Ukraine says the attack was planned months in advance and severely damaged the structure's pillars. Kremlin's top security official is promising that retribution is coming.
A few hours after the Trump-Putin phone call, Russia launched missiles and drones in a fresh attack against 2 Ukrainian cities.
Ukrainian military officials say that the capital's under attack from Russian drones. 4 people have been killed so far, several others wounded. Multiple explosions were heard in Kiev.
This is the building that suffered the building that suffered the most damage, I should say, in the Ukrainian capital last night.
In a way, these attacks on each other and the ones that are coming are all about the diplomatic process. It is a very sad way to end this war, but I'm afraid it's going to end like this. It's going to be ending in violence.
And it's even more top stories from around the world. Check them out with the news in brief. The fall of the Assad regime saw the end of war and of many of Syria's troubles, but not all.
A quieter but equally destructive battles unfolding, one that threatens the very fabric of society.
Syria's drug trade persists, fueled by formerly state-backed Captagon labs, poverty, unemployment, and a mental health epidemic. Producers profit and families suffer addiction in silence, but the young hit hardest.
Through our thorough investigations, we managed to uncover multiple networks linked to the ousted Assad regime.
And there's another problem that won't go away: water shortages. Some Damascus neighborhoods get just a few hours of water every few days.
We're forced to walk to the camp to get water. Tanker trucks do come, but families like us simply can't afford to.
Once nourished by the ancient Ain el-Fiji spring, Damascus now risks running dry. Climate change, collapsing infrastructure, and continuous power cuts have made water that much harder to come by.
Tuesday's elections in South Korea handed the presidency to opposition leader Lee Jae-myung, after public outrage got former leader Yoon Suk-yeol impeached for trying to impose martial law. Voters are demanding transparency and change, but Lee's Democratic Party brings its own baggage, scandals and infighting. Now he must rebuild trust, fix a struggling economy, and manage tensions with China, North Korea, and Trump's 25% tariffs. On Saturday, Paris Saint-Germain football clinched an historic Champions League blowout, 5-0 against Inter Milan. But victory cheers gave way to violence and chaos. Street parties erupted in clashes with police, along with fires and looting. There were 2 reported deaths.
491 people were arrested in the Greater Paris area, 392 of them in Paris, most of them for causing damage, throwing objects at law enforcement officers or groups formed with the intention of committing violent acts.
And U.S. President Trump has issued new entry bans, including Afghanistan, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Yemen, and 5 others. Partial bans include Cuba, Sierra Leone, Turkmenistan, Venezuela, and more. Reasons include national security and high visa overstay rates. But critics say the bans target Muslim countries and those suffering from instability. And all is not well in Trump's orbit. A very public feud between the U.S. president and Elon Musk has spiraled into a full-blown political and financial firestorm. Musk called Trump's massive budget bill pork-filled and a disgusting abomination. Trump hit back, threatening to cancel Musk company government contracts, after which Tesla stock plunged by $150 billion. Musk then called for Trump's impeachment and linked him to pedophile Jeffrey Epstein without evidence. The fight risks NASA missions, tech markets, and conservative support for Musk.
The White House did respond to Musk's insinuation about Trump's relationship to the Jeffrey Epstein case, calling that an unfortunate episode from Musk, who's just unhappy because the budget bill doesn't contain his priorities.
And we pop in with some of the best bits from our programs. Africa Matters, Just 2 Degrees, Money Talks, and Beyond the Game.
The European Union has greenlit Bulgaria's application to adopt the euro as its national currency. It'll become the 21st member state of the Eurozone next year.
Few would have thought that when Bulgaria was finally ready to join the Eurozone, something it's been trying to do for almost 20 years, the streets would erupt in anger. But they did.
The people need to be asked about such an important decision, whether to accept the euro or not.
According to some recent polls, at least half of Bulgaria's population is against joining the Eurozone. The country's president initially agreed to let the public decide, but the prospect of a referendum was shot down by the pro-European majority in parliament. Thousands expressed outrage at that decision, including Bulgaria's pro-Russian Revival Party. 8 elections in 4 years, the rising popularity of populist and anti-EU political parties, and a rampant disinformation campaign. All this has helped to chip away at support for the EU.
Research shows that African Gen Zs will spend more than $800 billion by the end of the year and hit $1 trillion by 2035.
Does the research reflect your own spending habits?
I think those statistics evaluate two sides of the coin, in that we're having a population that is probably the largest the world has ever seen and the largest they might ever be. And we're transitioning to a fact where we're slowly seeing conventional economies failing to adopt the Gen Zs, and therefore the gig economy coming up as a substantial way for sources of income. Spending habits we're seeing are fully being endorsed into spaces that really bring out the relation of what a Gen Z is. We're seeing facial care, self-care, going to the gym. We're seeing a lot of digital products being sold. This is also because potentially the economy is not sustainable enough to adopt young people right now. And so they're having courses online. They're studying how to build programs. We're seeing coders and digital experience entrepreneurs coming up with different variations.
Does this reflect that Gen Zs have deep pockets? Our spending is so much on food, rent, so we are trying to just make the sense. We are trying just to make sense out of living. And that's why I think when you do that aggregate demand is when now these big figures come. But in terms of relative terms, it doesn't demonstrate that we have so much big pockets. Now, the second thing, I think it's because most of us also do not have the luxury of saving.
A former Arsenal kit man is suing the Premier League club for unfair dismissal over some social media posts that criticised Israel's actions in Gaza. Academy kitman Mark Bonnick had worked with the club for 22 years when he was fired on Christmas Eve. He was accused of bringing the club into disrepute, as phrases he used on X, such as ethnic cleansing and Jewish supremacy, were reportedly inflammatory and reasonably likely to cause genuine offence to many people. Well, Bonnick since deleted his account and says the comments were taken out of context. The 61-year-old's now filed a legal case against his sacking. We've asked Arsenal for comment and the club is yet to reply. Let's have a look at some of the things that they say. It's on their life and culture section in their website. And there are 3 points that they raise. 1 is always move forward. 2 is be together. Point 3 is actions that matter. We do the right thing, even when no one is looking. Do you think then that you have abided by these values?
I always sort of got a little bit frustrated with those values. It's nice putting things down in writing, and they're probably the correct thing, but didn't live by them. I think I did, but that was basically off my own back, off my own morals. I just think there was one time where, and I'll try and quote a guy here, that it was, I don't know why you bother, no one else bothers, I wouldn't waste your time, nothing ever gets done. But I couldn't. I had to keep trying to do the right thing, make the boys do the right thing so they're develop as players and people.